Hi, and welcome to the iPad stream. My name's Ruth, and today I'm going to be taking you through our activities because guess what? It's recycling week, so that's what we're going to be concentrating on today. So as I'm going through things, there's a few rules and sort of guidelines that we're kind of going to go through first. Okay, so the first one is that you can apply and you can get some swag. Now, swag is just stuff you get. So it's just some free things. I think it's like some stickers and stuff. So if your teacher has received an email, so they should be able to apply for that. And the cool thing is that if you use what you've learned today and pass it on to somebody else, you can actually earn what's called VIP swag, which is even better than swag. So you get some extra stuff. So again, you do that by sharing whatever you've done, what you've learned today with other people. The main thing about these sessions is that it's just me today. I'm on my own. If you are, hopefully everybody watching is in an iPad school and you guys are just using iPads. If you are using a mixture of iPads and Chromebooks, we would recommend that you attend the Chromebook laptop session and pair up everybody, because the two are just very, very different, and it's quite complicated kind of trying to do a mixture of those. And again, that link would be in the email that Dom sent out originally. But if you're here with me now, that's great. We're kind of going to go through things. There's a few wee things I just want to tell you about what we're going to be doing. One, the cool thing about this is that in the videos, you can actually pause me. So if, for example, I'm moving on too fast and you kind of want to take a wee bit extra time in a certain area, you can just hit pause in the video. I won't know anything. I'm talking away. You're totally fine. But it just means you can get caught up and then you can resume the video when you need to. And also, if you want to take your time on the first challenge, because we've got two challenges today, you can pause before I go on to challenge 2 and just continue that and pick up challenge 2 on another day. Is totally fine. One thing I will point out, if anyone has noticed, my dog has decided to sleep right here. So he is currently snoring in the background. So that'll be something fun for you to keep an eye on as I move around. I'm so animated. The dog, Hopper is his name. Little Hopper will be in the background. But yeah, so you can pause the video and get stuff done. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at our challenges today. So hopefully you guys can access this. You can access this challenge page by going to bit.ly /expressrw for recycling week. I'm just going to show you here what we've got. So this is our challenge. Again, if you can't access those bit.ly links, your teachers were sent a link out. But this is just a guide anyway. I'll just keep throwing it up. We don't have too much in here. So our first challenge for today is going to be graphic design, and we're going to be using the Adobe Express app for this. And so hopefully you've got that installed on your iPads and you're all logged in. So what we're going to do is learn to sort your recycling bin correctly. So we're going to be making an informative poster in it. And you can see there's a little bin, a bin man walking around, and then we've got what items recycle and what doesn't recycle. Again, we don't have a list of all of this stuff. You guys can just fill in your own information, and sort of in the class, you could have a discussion about what items can be recycled and what can't, because to be honest, there's some things that I've learned. Now, I'm quite good. I usually try to recycle as much as possible and use eco-friendly things, but there's a lot that I've actually learned just by making this poster as to what can and can't be. So in this, because we're making a poster and because it's informative, we're going to be thinking about our font choices, and we're going to use a consistent font. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks around using that in Adobe Express. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look and choose an appropriate color scheme. So you can already start thinking about that now. So if you're recycling, some good color schemes could be the color of the bins. So obviously, bin colors might be different in Northern Ireland, where my bin is. I live in Larne. Our bins are blue for recycling, but just about 20 minutes down the road, their bins are all black and red. So you can see recycling bins kind of change colors. But for me, I might consider doing a blue color, or I might go for green like this, like greens and oranges and yellows, mainly because green for the earth, we're trying to recycle to save the earth, that sort of stuff. And then what we're also going to consider is we're going to design an easy to read layout. So you can see it's very easy to read all of our information on this poster, this example poster. And yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be looking at today. Then challenge 2 is we're going to be using, oh, I scrolled way too fast, sorry. Challenge 2, we're going to be doing some video editing. So in this, we're going to be using Adobe Spark Video, the app. It's not actually Express. Express only does the graphic design stuff on the iPads. We're going to be using a different app. So we're going to be making, you can see here, there are 2 different paragraphs. We're going to be using the iPad one. So we're going to be making an informative video about recycling process. And you can see here, actually, if I click on this, hopefully you guys can too, in here is just a link to a lot of plastic recycling facts, and this is actually opened up in my Google Docs app. Sorry, I went to say app and docs at the same time and they merged. But yes, so in here, or it might have just opened up on your browser, just like this. So it's up to you, whatever way you want to access that, but it's just very, very handy to see. And again, we'll be getting into that later on. But you know what? Let's get stuck in. Let's get stuck in and start our first challenge. And if you remember, our first challenge is to make a poster in Adobe Express. So I am going to be using my mouse with my iPad, so we'll see how that goes. So let's go to our Adobe Express app to do our first challenge. So click on Adobe Express. Hopefully you're signed in. Hopefully I'm signed in. I am, yay. If it does take you to the sign in screen, just sign in and then you're going to be met with this. So this is our home screen. In here then you could have a look at all the templates, but we're actually going to be starting from scratch today. So if I go down to the bottom and hit the plus symbol, and there are lots of different ways to get started. I like to start off with a solid color. So that's the third option along the top here. It just gives me more options and allows me to change the size. Because we're making a poster, I want this to be A3 or A4 size so that you could print it if you want to. So let's click on solid color. And it's chosen like a sort of pale pink. I'm just going to be very boring and choose white. White's a good one to get started on. Okay, so let's click on white and hit next. We're going to be changing the background color anyway, but white's just a good surface to get started. As I scroll along the bottom here, you're going to see there are lots of different sizes that we can pick. We've got social, so that's all social media kind of sizes already built in. Print, social profile. We're going to go to print because remember we're making a poster. And I'm going to leave it up to you whether you want to do A4 or A3. If this is a poster that you would like to print and you may be printing it in A3, I would always recommend that you design higher, so in a bigger size, because it's easier to scale down. If you design an A4 and print it in A3, you might get a wee bit of pixelation that happens. So I'm going to choose A3 here. And you can see it's auto adjusted our size. And I'm going to go to done. And don't forget, at any point, if I am going too fast or if you need me to repeat anything, just let me know. I'm just going to get rid of this little Express banner. I forgot. So now we have our page. So in Adobe Express, every time we open a new page on the iPad, it's going to create this text box for us. So let's click on this. And if I just jump back into the page, you can see here a title that you could use is waste less, recycle more, or you could just say like recycle more, whatever you want. Again, we don't have set text for today for the first challenge, so feel free to use whatever you want. But I'm going to use waste less, recycle more. So if I double tap on this, then I can type this in. Oh, I just forgot immediately what it was. Waste less, recycle more. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to click on done. So again, I double clicked on my text and I opened up the editor where I could edit my text, and then it brought me to here. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to play around with the positioning of my text now that I have it. So let's stretch this out. So you're going to notice there are 4 circles around the corners, right in the corners. That allows me to resize. And as I sort of squish it around, it auto adjusts where the text would be. Because what I wanted to say is I want waste less and then recycle more on a different line. So I can play around with that. You can also do it by grabbing the bars in the middle there, that they look more like a sort of vertical bar. And we're going to do that. Yeah, pretty happy with that. Now, I don't like the font, I don't like the color, and I don't like the positioning. So let's choose all of those or change all of those now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at fonts. And this is where I can give you a couple of wee tips on how to pick good fonts for this project on the iPad. Okay, so with the text box selected, I'm going to go to font at the bottom. And you're going to see all of these sort of fonts down here. Now, if there are ones that you really like, or that you've used recently, they'll probably be in the suggested or in the sort of most recently used side. But the tip that I'm going to give you is to try and pick a font that has this tiny little plus symbol attached to it. If I do that, if I click, say for example, I am going to choose this Railway font. If I click on Railway, oh no, my mouse has decided, oh, there it is. Woo, it had a little moment. If I click on Railway, you're going to see that I get a little pop-up that comes up above it that says regular or heavy. Now, this is the only way on the iPad, at least that I've found, that I can change what's called the weight of a font. So different fonts will have different weights. And all that means is, whenever you have a text document and you can have some text and you can highlight a section and hit bold, that's kind of what weights are. It's about allowing the same font family, but you have slightly different variations of the font. So have a scroll through and see which fonts have that little plus symbol, but I would definitely recommend it for this, because what we're going to do is we're going to use the same font throughout, but we're going to use those heavier. In fact, look, there's one, Lato, has 5 different options available, including some metallic as well. So for me, I would be interested in bold, regular, and light. See, if I click on bold, you can see it's made it a bit chunkier. And if I click on light, that's a really good paragraph font. So heavy or bold is good for titles, and light or regular is good for paragraph or content. So I'm going to choose this Railway font, and instead of regular, I'm going to click on heavy, because I quite like that sort of really chunky, thick font for a title. The second thing I said I didn't like about this is the color, because it's just gray. Now, gray is totally fine, but I want to bring a pop of color into this. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to choose our background color, because then I'll know what color the text should be. So to click our background, just click anywhere on the page that doesn't have an item or a bit of text or something. So if I click here, it's actually chosen my page. And then you're going to see in here, I've got edit or I've got color. So I'm going to click on color. Again, that's clicking on the page and clicking on color. And I'm going to go for a nice green. I think green works really well, or like a nice fresh color, like yellows or blues, something that'll catch attention. And you can see here, there's lots of different types of green, shades of green that we could go for. I could go for something like this. It's quite bright. I could go darker green. That's more like sort of naturey. But I do quite like this. It looks like a sort of football field kind of green. It's very grassy, so I quite like that green. But again, if you don't like any of these set greens, you can see there's a little sliders, a little circle on the color itself. If I click on that, I can actually go in and change the custom color. So I can kind of move this around. Oh, it doesn't seem to be working. Hey, there it is. I think it's just my mouse was having a bit of a moment again. So yeah, you can move this around. You actually just tap and drag anywhere, and it'll move the bar. And as I let go, so you're going to see it doesn't change as I move around. I have to let go and it will update. I actually don't like that green that I've picked, so I'm just going to hit cancel, and I'm going to stick with the green that I originally had. So that's how you change your background color. And as with anything on the iPad, down at the bottom, you always have to hit done to be able to see your menu again. So let's click on our text. Now that we have our lovely background color, we're going to change the color of our text. Sorry, the dog just did a big stretch there. You all right, bud? He's fine. Okay, so while we have our text selected, I'm going to go down below and going to choose color as our option. When I choose color, I can click on the text, And then I'm actually just going to choose white. White on green is very eye-catching. You want this to kind of draw people in because this is a poster. So you want it to be really bold, really noticeable. It's a good what's called contrast. Contrast is just a difference, okay? So it's a nice dark green and white really stands out. Again, you can experiment with this. I mean, as you're going to see throughout, I change my mind constantly when it comes to designing. Constantly change my mind, and that's great in design. That's a normal process. You can change so whatever you choose at the beginning. So if you're like, I'm going to pick this pink color as my background, you might change that as you go throughout. That's totally fine. And I'm going to change my mind constantly. And the worst part is I'm on my own, so I don't have anybody to kind of tell me to get back on track. So I may spend the entire 75 minutes we have here just talking about fonts. I promise I won't, but you never know. So you could choose different colors. Yellow is a really good color against green. It stands out quite well. So does orange. I think yellow, like a goldy yellow, works really well. You could also try a different green. It still stands out, but doesn't stand out as much because your contrast isn't as high. Remember that contrast just means difference. So if I click on the purple, for example, it's giving me quite like Barney, the dinosaur vibes, but I'm just going to click on white. And then I'm going to click, as always with the iPad, we're going to click on done to confirm that. And then the last thing I said was I don't like my alignment. So even though it's center aligned, I actually want mine to be left aligned. So let's go to align along the top. And you can see here, center is selected. I'm going to hit left. I mean, there are these sort of smart ones. So if I do magic, that's pretty good, actually. I do quite like that. What magic will do is it will try and extend so that everything fits nice and chunky and is the same width without you having to do that manually. I think I will actually go with this. You see grid will do this, but it's weird because it puts like the comma as one of the grid lines. That works really well for like a one-word title, not so much because it doesn't put the spaces in, so it's very hard to tell what word where the word begins. So I'm just going to click on magic. I quite like that. And I'm going to make that nice and bold up at the top. Really simple, okay? And hopefully you guys are still with me and are deciding what you want to do. Again, you could do left align, you could do whatever you want, but I'm going to go for that magic because I think it looks quite nice. Let's just refer back to our original image here. So we actually have, that's our title, and we actually have a little subtitle that we could put in. Subtitles are fun because you can play around and you could actually, I'm going to actually make this, I'm not going to make exactly this. Sorry, I keep scrolling way too fast. Sorry, I'm not going to make exactly this poster. I'm just using this as inspiration. Okay, so every bin counts, learn to sort correctly. That's a good title, a subtitle. So I'm going to hit add, making sure that nothing is selected. I have my menu up at the bottom. And again, if you aren't seeing this menu, you might just have to hit done on whatever you have selected. If I hit add, I'm going to go to text. And it's just going to allow me to type this in. And so I'm just going to do every bin counts, learn to sort correctly. And no, I didn't remember that. I have it open on another screen because my memory is terrible. So you guys can follow along with what I'm doing here, but every bin counts, learn to sort correctly. Then I'm going to tap on done. And you can see here what it's actually done is it has taken the format of my title and created that for my body of text or my subtitle. So I actually don't want this to be magic and I don't want it to do. So we need to undo a few things. So I'm just going to do center align for this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to font. And you remember I told you I picked one that had that little plus symbol. This is where we're going to use that. So Railway is selected, but if I click on it again, heavy is selected. I actually want this to be regular. So I'm going to click on regular, and that, see the way it just gives it, just makes it stand out a wee bit more. It gives each one its own identity rather than it being a carbon copy of the same text. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on color, text, and I am going to change this to be like a nice lighter yellow, something like this. Again, just so it stands out even more and gives a wee bit more interesting things to look at. I'm going to click on done. Again, you guys do whatever you want to do. Whatever you are creating will be brilliant. You don't have to follow me exactly. This is just a guide. And if you do have any questions or if you need anything answered, just pop something in the chat. I can see any of your comments and you can let me know if there's anything you want to look at in particular. So I could stretch this out to make it the full size to match my width. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put this in the middle. And I'm going to go to spacing along the bottom. Now, this is something you don't have to do, but I do it because I just like playing around with it. And what spacing will do is it will actually spread out the distance between your letters, which is just how you can have smaller text fit in a space. You don't need to always stretch the text size to make it bigger. You can set it to a smaller size, and then it's almost like you're stretching it. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I can see just nicely positioned just below. Waste less, recycle more. Every bin counts. Learn to sort correctly. Brilliant. I feel like going, that's us. Thanks very much, guys. See you later. But we've got plenty more to do. We actually need to get all of our content in now. What I will do is let's add our text in first, because the text can stay on the screen for us, and then we'll play around with images and icons and stuff. Okay, so we're just going to add in a whole bunch of text here. So let's go to add text. Again, if you don't see add, make sure you hit done and you'll see it. So let's go to text. And what we're going to do is we're just going to type in recycle, because if you remember, we have this little title, recycle and don't recycle. So we're just creating those. So I'm just going to type recycle and I'm going to hit done. You can see it's copied the last text box that was made, which is our subtitle. So again, I kind of want this to be more like the title. So I'm going to go to font, heavy. I'm going to go for my heavier weight. I'm going to go to color. Basically, I'm just going to keep changing the same things. And I don't want my spacing anymore. I want it to be nice and chunky. So I change the font, the color, and the spacing. Hopefully this is all you will be like, oh yeah, I know how to change that. So if I am going too fast, apologies, you can pause if you need to. And then I'm just going to hit done, and I'm going to resize. So I kind of want all of my text, all of my facts to be on the left side, because we're going to put a big image on the right. So whoops, I went to drag it there. When your font starts to get a bit small, you'll notice that you get this little arrow button that comes up. That just allows you to move it without accidentally tapping and making it massive. So that little arrow is very, very handy. And I'm just going to position recycle here. We are going to put a little icon beside it, but for now, that's fine. I'm just going to align everything nicely. And then I'm going to hit done. And we're going to add in our first sort of list, our first body of text. So I'm going to hit add and text. And this is where I want you to think about. Now I'm going to type a few things, but you might have some different objects. We're going to just type in 5 or 6 different objects that can, or things that can be recycled. So these are things that you do put in your recycling bin. So I'm always putting paper in. I am going to do these little dashes just to create this sort of bullet point style. You don't have to do this. Then I'm going to hit enter or return on the keyboard, because I want to create a list. I don't want these to be beside each other. I want to be underneath. So I'm going to do paper. I definitely do cardboard. My recycling just got picked up about half an hour ago. And I was shoving some cardboard boxes in from deliveries that we got. So I definitely know cardboard goes in. Plastic containers for sure. Some ice cream tubs have been in there. We're going to do glass. We have a separate box for our glass just to make sure it doesn't smash. Some cans, like metal cans, they definitely need recycle or can be recycled. And something that I didn't know that you could throw into your normal bins is ink cartridges and something like that. So again, you don't need to put all of those in, just 5 or 6 different items. If there are other ones that you've thought of, put those in, no problem. I'm just going to type these in because it's easier for me to do that. So I'm just going to hit done. You can see here's our lovely little list. You can probably already guess what things I'm going to change about it. At the minute, because these are done like bullet points, I kind of want them all to be on the left side. At the minute, it doesn't really make sense as to why there are dashes beside it. But if I go to align and go to left, then you can see it lines them all up. Oh, I actually forgot. Oh no, plastic containers is on 2 lines. So if I actually drag this out, you can see that's how we can make it wider, our box. So that's just by using that little handle in the middle. And then I'm just going to make these smaller. This text is actually our heavy font or our bold font or our chunky font. I'm going to go to font and I'm going to click on this and go to regular because I want this to look more like a list. It doesn't need to be super bold, just something like this. And that's working pretty well. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this recycle. Again, take your time. That text is going to stay on the screen so you just can type away. I'm going to click on this next recycle title. And if I click on edit, I wouldn't say lazy. I like to use shortcuts when I can, okay? And the best shortcut ever is duplicate. So I'm going to click on this recycle and I'm going to go to duplicate. And what it's going to do is it's going to create an exact copy of my title, which is the same format, the same font type, the same everything. So I don't need to constantly go and change things. And I'm going to move these down. And what you're going to see is you're going to get these blue lines. Now, these blue lines are magic. They are so handy. They just help me align things correctly. So if I want this to line up with this, you'll see as I move it across, this is lined up with the title. And this is lined up with the recycle. And I'm just going to double click on this to edit my text. Remember, double click a text box always edits it. And I'm going to actually just click before it. So I'm not going to delete that. And I'm just going to type in don't. Because don't forget, it's recycle and don't recycle is what we're doing here. I lost my mouse. Sorry. Then I'm going to click on done. I just have to change this in that I have to drag this box out so it's on one line. And then I probably just need to realign this again. Yeah, I do. Don't recycle. Then I'm going to click on my list and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to click on edit, go to duplicate. I might just use go to duplicate and then drag it down. And then as I'm dragging it, you'll see there's it lined up with my previous list of items. And I'm going to double tap on it. And I'm going to type in some things that can't be recycled. So this would be things like plastic bags, obviously. Polystyrene, which is a really hard word to spell. So thankfully you can use your autocorrect or your suggestions, or you can just copy it off the screen there. Again, I have this written out because I would not be able to spell that. Food waste can't be recycled. Oh, I forgot my little dash. Food waste for us has to go in a different bin. So it's not actually recycled, it's composted, which means it's just, you can't recycle food waste. That'd be gross. Someone else's 5-day-old pizza. No, thank you. Textiles, things like clothes or shoes, they can't be thrown in the recycling bin. Some recycling centers will have areas for clothes that would basically be either donated or recycled there, but it's not generic. And then the last one that can be recycled in this list, or can't be, sorry, is dirty tissues or paper towels. So I'm just going to do dirty tissues, paper towels. So that's all the sort of items. Again, share with people beside you, have a conversation about this. You're going to probably know more about this anyway, because you're kind of looking at Recycling Week. But yeah, these are things that can't be thrown in the recycling bin. So if I hit done, you're going to see here's our lovely list. Again, some of the lines went on to the next line. So I just need to drag that little middle bit out until they're all on one. And yeah, pretty happy with that. Now, one thing that we can add in, now let's jazz this up a little bit, okay? So we have all of our content in, which is we've got all of our text in, and now we can have some fun playing around with the way that we want things to look, like little icons or little images or things that will just really enhance the project. Okay, so I'm just going to hit done on my colors so that I have my main menu at the bottom. So what we can do is we can add in a little tick box and a little X to show don't recycle and recycle. Okay, so let's do that first. So I'm going to go to add at the bottom. Again, if you can't see this menu, hit done and you can just see the menu hopefully. Ooh, I have ice in my cup and it jingles every time I take a drink. So I'm going to hit add. And this time, instead of going to anything in photos or anything like that, we're going to go to what's called shapes. Okay, so in the new version, this is split up. This is shapes and icons. We're actually going to be looking for an icon, but it's all in one here. So let's click on shapes. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up a massive amount of what look like little sort of icons or, custom images. You're going to notice that they're all black and white or gray. Anything that's black can be colored in. So you can change the color, but it can only be one color. So it's just really a way to add a little pop of color or a little design feature. Up here, in search shapes, I'm going to click up there. Come on, mice. And I'm going to search for tick because I want to like a tick or a check mark or whatever you want to call it. But I want like a tick. And you can see there are loads of options, including like bug ticks. Ugh, no, thank you. So you can kind of decide whatever one you want. Again, don't forget what is black will be the color and what is white will be see-through. So technically what is white will be whatever your background color is. So you can go for these sort of chunkier ones. To be honest, pick whatever one you want. That's the best way to do this. Whatever one you fancy. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple and go for, say, this one. Just like a nice tick. It actually looks more like a clock, but I'm going to go for this tick. Or you could, that one's pretty cool too. Actually, yeah, I do quite like that one. So when I click on it, it's going to have a little tick beside the tick. And what that is you can actually select multiple if you want to. And you're going to see up at the top, it now says add one. So I've got this one ticked and I'm like, yep, this one's selected. I'm going to click on add one and it's going to drop it in and it's chosen a random color that's kind of like a suggested color based on our background. I don't really want this. I want this to be like a sort of a tick is a good thing. So I want this to be like, yes, which would technically be green, like a go, like, yeah, good color. But I'm going to choose this sort of yellow that I've been using. I quite like that one, actually, the darker yellow. But again, you guys can pick whatever you want. You can, like I said, well, I suppose that green actually works quite well too. So this is where I'm like, I can't decide. That's totally fine. This is where I just like going and seeing what works best. I'm going to go for this sort of pale green. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is smaller. It's way too big at the minute. And the problem that we're going to have now is that the area that we're working on is so small that I'm actually going to have to zoom in. So to zoom in on the iPad, it's not that obvious because if I pinch to zoom in now, it's actually just going to make my object that's selected bigger. What we want to make sure is we want to make sure that nothing has been selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap in this area out here, sort of the I don't really know, like the boundary, like just this area, so that nothing is selected. And now if I pinch to zoom in, you can see it's zoomed in without, making anything bigger. So you just need to make sure that nothing is selected. And then using two fingers, you just pinch and you can zoom in. So I'm going to make this a bit smaller. I'm going to put it where my recycle is. And then I'm just going to move recycle over so that I now have a big tick beside it. I could make that a wee bit bigger if I want to. And you can play around with the positioning, but I'm pretty happy with that there. Then what I can do is I'm just going to scroll down. Oh yeah, sorry, hit done. And we're going to scroll down. I was like, why can't I move? It was because I didn't hit done. Literally what I told you guys to do, I forgot to do. So I'm going to hit done and then I can scroll down. And now what I need to do is I need to add in a don't, so a big X. So I'm going to do the same process again. I'm going to click on Add at the bottom, and I'm going to go to Shape. And up here, I'm going to put an X in, because if I put a cross in, it's going to bring up like a cross rather than an X. So let's just search X. And what you're going to want to do now, you don't have to do it, it's just like a little tip. You want to try and use an X that is very similar format to before. So if you chose a fully colored in tick, then you're better choosing a fully colored in X so that they match. But mine was kind of more like this, just an X inside a circle. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to add one. And again, it's trying to get me to pick that yellow. This time I am going to pick something that's more like a no, like a kind of color. Red usually works well. However, green and red are a bit weird whenever it comes to colorblind. People can be green and red colorblind. So I'm actually just going to pick black, just because black's like a big, no, don't do that. And I'm going to drag this so it's roughly the same size as my circle above. I can kind of put them on top of each other to double check. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this down so that it's lined up with the one before. And then I'm going to click on Don't Recycle and move that across so that everything's nicely aligned. So hopefully, I was waiting for everyone to respond. I can't hear you, but hopefully that all makes sense. So I've got a recycle, nice recycle, and a don't recycle. And you can see here we have a little gap in here. So what I might do is I might add something in later. We'll see how we get on with time. But now it's finally time to add in an image to the right, because we've got this big gap, big space that we want to add something into. So let's have a wee look at what we can add. Okay, so hopefully hit done if you can't see, and we're going to go to add. And at the bottom, we're going to go to Adobe Stock. Now, if I clicked on Photos, I could go to Photos, then Adobe Stock, but this just saves me having to do that. So let's click on Add and go to Adobe Stock. And with this one selected, this is where I can search for things. So I could search for something like recycling. And there's loads of different options here. What we're wanting to look for is something that just has like one thing. Like that's pretty good. The girl kind of going like, like recycle works quite well. We're looking for something that is just like one main focus. So again, this is pretty cool, like the recycling arrows. I'm not quite seeing something that I really like the look of though. So I think I'm just going to, instead of doing recycling, I'm going to search bin, just to see, is there anything else that sort of works well? If we look back at this image, this is a guy walking with a bin. I don't think those images are on the iPads though. Let's see. Oh, this one's quite good. So this is like a little like toy bin with some paper coming out of it exploding. So I might pick that one, or like this one's quite good. Again, have a wee play around and see. I'm going to choose this one though, and I'm going to click on add one. And when you add things on the iPad, it's going to give you this option. So pin to background will actually swap out our green background for our image, which is helpful, but we don't want that right now. So we want to make sure that you pick move freely. So whatever image that you're picking, you have to pick move freely. Otherwise, you're going to replace your green background and it's all going to go wrong. So let's click on move freely. And now I can see my image has landed in. Now I could crop this out so that things fit. Like, for example, if I have this clicked, I could go to adjust. No. Yeah. Okay. I could just go to edit. Oh, there it is. Literally in front of me. Crop and shape. I could go to that and I could choose like a circle if I wanted to. So if I had that, I could have like a nice little image, but I don't want to do that because I'm going to actually just click undo, which is at the top here. With this image selected, I'm going to remove the background so that it pops. It makes it stand out way more. So I'm going to click on this. click on your image, and then at the bottom, click on edit. And I'm going to go to remove background. And this is where Adobe works its magic. It is magic. I mean, I didn't even have time to say magic before it actually finished. And what it's done is it's removed that background. So now I just have the paper kind of coming out of the bin, which looks really, really cool. Some of them work better than others. So if your remove background hasn't worked great on your photograph, it's okay. You can technically go to edit cutout and go in and like erase areas that you don't want and add things in. It gets very fiddly very fast. So I would just say either stick with what you've got or choose a different image. It might just be the image you chose is a bit too complicated for the remove background. I'm going to use the little rotate. I'm going to make this really big, and I'm going to try and get this sort of positioned where I'm happy with how it looks. So I've actually rotated it too much. So something like that looks really cool. It's like the bin's kind of like exploding with all of the recyclable materials. And yeah, it's not crossing over and it's not too close to my text. Pretty happy with that. It hasn't covered any text. It's a good positioning of my image. And yeah, I think I actually quite like that. I just noticed that I might just move this up a little bit. And I have put it that the bin is slightly off at the bottom, which I really like. I really like that. And again, if you are zoomed in, you can, so if you're zoomed in, you'll see that there's like this little magnifying glass. You can just click that and that will automatically bring you back to your full screen, which is very handy to know. But now that we have this, we have waste less, recycle more, every bin counts, then we have our recycle and don't recycle. There's a few wee things that we could probably do. I think I just need to bring this text down a wee bit. There's a few things that we could probably do just to enhance this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show just a few wee things. There's no extra skills that I'll be showing here. If you're still working on it, you go ahead. And what we'll do is I'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll get stuck into challenge 2. But we're almost at the end of challenge 1. So if you are still working on your image and stuff, don't worry about what I'm going to talk about. This is just if you want to see some extra things. So what I might add in here is I might add like a little dividing line. Nothing exciting, just a wee small line to kind of break these two up. So I'm going to go to add, and lines are actually found in shapes again. So I'm going to click on shapes. And I'm going to go to up here and I'm just going to search the word line. And I can see here's where the lines are, and I can actually pick what type of line I want. So I'm just going to pick a really plain. I could pick other ones here, but I'm going to pick just a little plain line. Here it is. And you'll see it's quite thick. I don't really want it that thick. So I'm going to make it smaller than what it should to get the right thickness of line that I want. That's perfect. Then using my arrow, that's actually maybe still a wee bit too thick. Yep, that's nice. Using my arrow, I'm going to move it over to the left here. And then using that sort of the vertical bar, which drags things out, I can drag it out to be the length that I need it to be. And that looks really nice. Pretty happy with that. But I don't want it to be white. It kind of blurs and merges with all the white text. So I'm going to go to color. And I'm going to choose that yellow color that I've been using. So that it just adds a little divider and it just looks quite nice and breaks it all up. And yeah, pretty happy with that one so far. Sorry, it's the cold season and the colds are creeping in. So I have my line. So I've recycled, don't recycle, pretty happy with this. The last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of texture behind our image just to make it look, it's very plain, very solid color of green. This is a little tip that I like to use to bring some sort of dynamic feature into your graphic. It just makes it look a wee bit more interesting from afar. So, and not so bland and plain green. So if everyone's with me then, so we're going to hit add at the bottom. And this time, instead of going to shapes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up what's called design assets. So these are actually assets that you technically can't change the color of or anything like that. And they can be like a random cat giving you its paw, some squiggles, it can be flowers, whatever it needs to be. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here and I'm going to search for, what shall I search for? See, you could search for textures if you want. I might search for something like dots. Whoops, can't spell. So dots, you get some sort of like these sort of things, which looks really cool. I really like that sort of hand-drawn look to it. What I could also do, oh, that's more what I'm looking for. So as you scroll down, you're going to see it looks more like 101 Dalmatians sort of style. Dots is what that looks like. I might type in specks. Oh, not specks. Speckle. And see, so there's some bananas with some speckle, but there you go. There's like black dots. We're just looking for something that looks a bit interesting. That's all. So I could search instead of that. I could search for texture. It's whatever you want. Texture usually brings up these sort of marks that just once you put them on, like cracking, like, you know, little cracks and like sort of scrumpled up paper and things if you want to, which looks cool as well. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to dots and see what we've kind of got. I do quite like these sort of bigger ones. They look really nice. Yeah, I'm going to choose, I'm going to see this. I can't choose. I'm going to choose this one. Okay. Again, you can pick whatever you want, and don't worry about it being black. We can actually recolor solid black things. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to go to add one. And obviously this is way too small. So I'm going to stretch it out so that it fills my entire screen. So you just create this sort of cool, like sort of messy background, but just adds a wee bit more interest to it. Okay. Now don't worry, it's all on top. We're going to change that. And what I'm going to do is with this, this background, with this sort of image selected, let's have a look at how we would actually recolor. So you'll notice that color is not an option because this is a set color of black. However, I can go to looks, which is where basically it's a filter we're going to add on top. And you're going to see one called duotone. Okay, so with that image selected, we're going to go to looks and we're going to go to duotone. And I'm going to click those little sliders to open up the editor. And in here, I could choose different colors for my dots. So what I might do is I quite like the different shade of green, but I'm not quite seeing the green that I like. So you can click those sort of arrows and that'll swap between the bottom and the top color. Those are two pairings that work really well. So yellow is currently it, or if I click on that arrow, it'll go to blue. But what I want to do is I'm going to change it to this green, but I'm going to click on the little sliders on that green, and I'm actually going to change it to that lighter green that I use, you know, the one in that I use for recycle. Or I could use this yellow, or I could use actually a darker green, might look better. Yes, I'm going to go for a darker green, because if I go for that same green, it's going to merge too much with my button. So again, pick and choose what you want to do, but I think that sort of dark green looks really great. Once I'm happy with it, I'm going to click done. And I'm going to click done again because that was just in the duotone. So I'm going to click done. And now what I need to do is I need to reorder my layers so that this is on the background, because currently it's all on top of my text and you can't even read like plastic, like plastic what? So it's covering a lot of the content. And normally on the computer, you would have like a layer stack on your right, but on the iPad, it's actually called order because we want to change where this is in the order of things. So let's click on order. And all I'm going to do is click and go and drag it all the way to the left. Sound effect I added in, sorry. I'm going to drag it all the way to the left, and that's going to put it behind everything. And then what I could do is I could go to opacity and just bring that opacity down so that it's not as noticeable, and you're just adding a little bit of interesting texture to the to your poster. I actually need to bring that down quite a bit. Yeah, pretty happy with that. So that was the order of things. We put it all the way to the left, and the opacity we've knocked down just until, I mean, that's just play around with your levels. It depends on how, what color you picked and what your image is, but I'm quite happy with 20% there. Once we're happy with that, so I'm going to hit done. I think that's a pretty cool poster for Recycling Week. We've worked really hard on it, so let's export it, and then we can get started on the video exercise that we're going to do. So to save this, there are two different ways that we can save it. And in the top, you're going to see there are two boxes. Those are little boxes with arrows either going down or pointing up. If I click on the arrow pointing down, that means download. So that's going to save this image into my Photos app on the iPad. So if I click on that, it's just going to say, what do you want to do? Images? Yes, I want to save it as an image, not transparent. And I'm going to click download, and that's going to save it into my camera roll, which is only locally stored on my iPad. The arrow jumping out is share. So that means share it to somewhere else. So if I click on share, again, I want it to be images, not transparent. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring up an extra little window now. So save image is just how you download. So that's just an extra option for how to download it to your own iPad. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, you can do copy link, I think is what it is. So yeah, so if you click on copy link, what that's going to do is that's actually going to create a linked version. So if I go to Safari, for example, just on the internet, and I create a new tab in here. So let's just do a new tab, and I paste that image in, or paste that link in. This is now something that I can share out to people, and it's just an easy way to share your work with other people who don't have, like, without using email or without using that, you can just give them this link, and it's sort of created an area on the internet that it'll be stored. So again, just show you one last time, you click on the arrows jumping out, so the up arrow, hit share, scroll across and go to copy link. And that's kind of how you publish it. I think more will open up, like all the different apps in your device. So hopefully you find that helpful for exercise 1. Excellent, really good job. Nice little poster that we've got, very informative. And again, you can adjust this for any topic that you're doing. So anything that you want to make like an informative poster, you can use all the same skills, but just change out the text and change out the image and play around. But yeah, it's nice to sort of just work on a wee bit of layout and not thinking about 500 fonts and things. So let's have a wee look at what our second activity for today is. So we've done challenge 1. Challenge 1, done. Challenge 2 then is going to be doing a little bit of video editing, okay? Now this does involve the Spark video app. So if you don't have the video app, what you might be best doing is just pausing the video and just continuing to tweak and make changes to your challenge 1 in your graphics. But we're going to give it a go. What we're going to need is this little plastic recycling process Google Doc that we can access. So again, I think I have that open. In here, it's just going to show us some, give us some text that we can add in into our video project. So let's, instead of me waffling, let's get started because we don't have too much time. So we're going to go to Adobe and we're going to click on this Spark video app and we're going to open it up, and hopefully you're logged in. When you log into this, it's going to look like this, very, very similar to the Express app. And we're going to click on the plus button at the bottom to get started. That's going to create our new project. So let's click in here and we're going to go skip to editor. So that's the plus button, and skip to editor is where we need to do. I'm just going to jingle here a second. There it is. So in here then we have our lovely white background that's ready to get things added in. And it's, if you've never used video before, this is really, really simple. All the different slides are at the bottom. So let's click on this one first. So So let's create like a main title. Let's start off our project. So we're going to click on this plus symbol, and this is going to say like, what do you want it to be? And what I'm just going to double check our doc. So this is the plastic recycling process. So that could be our title. So let's go to text and just type in plastic recycling process. I can make the text a wee bit smaller or bigger here. You're going to see, depending on what you want. I quite like it a bit smaller. I'm always like smaller text looks a bit better. And I'm just going to click on done. So again, that was the plus symbol in the middle. And then I just went to text on the right and added this in. Then what we're going to need is we're going to need an image that works really well behind this, because at the minute it's okay with white with the blue text. Don't worry about fonts. Don't worry about colors of your text. You can't really change those separately. They're just controlled by the theme of the project. And we're going to have a look at theme after we've created our first proper slide. Okay, so this is just the title slide at the minute. So let's click on the little plus in the top left, because we can add one more thing in. And that's either a video, but we're not going to add video. We're going to add photo in. So let's click on photo. And I don't have any photographs stored on my iPad, so my photos isn't really going to help. So let's go to find free photos, which is basically the Adobe stock search. That's where we're going. So let's go find free photos. That's really hard to say fast. And let's just click on, let's just type in recycling plastic and see what comes up. So you can see here, there's a bunch of plastic bottles. Perfect. Or there's loads of plastic there. So if I click on it, you can see it adds it in automatically. I can change my mind just by clicking on it, and it'll change that image out. So you can try different ones and see what you sort of like the look of. I quite like that one with the lids. Because we're going to have some images later of a lot of plastic, like recycling plants, it's probably best to just stick to something a bit more abstract, a bit more like, what's that? Works really well here. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to hit done. Looks really good. And I don't think I'm going to add audio at the minute. You can record your audio or your voice in this, and we're going to do that next. But I don't think the title is going to need any text or any recordings. So let's create a new slide. So in the video, once you're happy with your image and we've got our text, we're just going to hit this little plus symbol on the right, and it's going to pop in a new slide that we can add in different things, like more content. So if I refer back to the Google Doc, the first step is collection of waste plastic. So refuse collectors go around collecting waste plastic from homes, offices, and public places. Then plastic gets transferred to those. So what we're kind of looking for is like bins or something where it starts off, because we don't want to do the plastic recycling yet. So let's go for plus. I'm going to add the photograph first, then I'll add the text. So I'm going to do recycling bin. Now this is where all, like I said, remember I said the bins are all different colors. These will be all the different recycling bins around the world. So again, it gets the idea across. So if you can't find the exact color of your recycling bin, that's okay. You can pick any of the recycling bins and that will work, no problem. That one looks pretty cool. There's loads of different ones you can choose, but I'm pretty happy with that one. At the minute, I did see there was ones that was pretty cool with like there, a whole bunch of blue bins. That's closer to mine. We don't have black lids, but sure, like I said, I'll compromise. And so I've got my image, so I'm going to click done. And then all I have to do is I can add some text. Now, here's a little tip. You cannot add more than one text box on each of the video slides. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy all of this text and put it in here. So I've copied that, and I'm just going to go to plus, and I'm going to paste that in just by tapping and going to paste. Now, this is okay, but actually I don't need all of this text in. I'm going to record this with my voice. So the only text on the screen is going to be step 1, collection of waste plastic. And then I'm going to read this. But this is almost like like a teleprompter. So like newsreaders would have the text in front of them. This is mainly so that I don't forget what I'm saying. So I've pasted this text in. Once I've recorded it, I'm going to then delete it. so that the only text you see is step 1. So let's record our audio, all right? And again, if you need to pause at any point because I'm talking and you need to record, that's fine. Because you're in a classroom, you're not going to get perfect recordings anyway with sound. But a little tip that we like to do is, here's my iPad. Whenever you're recording, your microphone is actually found up right. You'll see just right here. So where your front-facing camera is, that's your microphone. And a good tip is don't put your mouth super close to the mic because you're going to be like, rah, 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 rah. It's going to peak out and sound awful. So a good tip is kind of give yourself like a hand, like about a good distance is about a hand away. And then you can record. It just makes it a bit clearer when you're in the classroom. If your iPad is really far away, it doesn't work. So I'm going to just hit record on here. You just have to tap and hold on the microphone and it'll record for as long as you're holding, okay? So there's no counting or anything. It's just going to start recording as soon as I tap it. Refuse collectors go around collecting waste plastic from homes, offices, and public places. The plastic then gets transferred to recycling facilities to continue the process. Okay? If you make a mistake, you can't edit it. So you just have to tap and hold and it will re-record over it. In fact, it's even saying hold to re-record. So I'm going to double check. I don't know if this is actually going to play my audio, but I'm going to just hit play. Oh, hold on. I think it's actually my computer. There it is. So if I hit play. Refuse collectors go around collecting waste plastic. I can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can definitely hear the sound. And so, yeah, pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to actually tap on my text. And because I already have all this in, I'm going to delete this. Remember, this was just a reference for me recording rather than trying to hit record and then go back throughout the apps. Yeah, so I'm just deleting this. It's just taking a while. Just so that the only text that I'm left with is the actual title. There we go. Step 1, collection of waste plastic. I will leave, I'm going to make that a wee bit smaller. I still think it's a bit too big. And then what I'm going to do is you'll notice that I can actually reposition where my text is on the screen. So I can put it at the top. You need to just hover until that top bar comes up. You really don't have a lot of like options. It's mostly, oh, you want the middle center? Cool. Oh, you want the top center, the bottom center, the left. And if I only left, you can't do, or you can do right if you hold it all the way right. So you have 9 points that you can put it on. I quite like the bottom left here because it makes sense for my image. The middle works quite well too, but I'm going to go bottom left. Once you're happy, you just hit plus. I'm going to do this for all of the facts here. I'm just going to power through. So it's going to be the same process for each one. So it gives you a chance to get caught up on yours as well. So repetition is not the worst. It's great for you guys because you get to see the process over and over again. So the next fact that we have is sorting of plastics into categories. Okay, so it's just about plastic. So I might just actually search the word plastic in our photos to see what we get. Very similar to our title slide. So it's more about splitting the plastics into different categories rather than the plastic being like, you know, around the world, like on the beach or anything like that. I might just do like this one. It's more like sorting it. I think if I do plastic sorting, not much comes up. Might be able to do recycling plastic. Might work well. So this is where you just have to spend a wee bit of time getting the right image. Again, you're not going to get the most perfect image, and you can always go to Google and search for an image and use that instead of going to photo and find free photos. You can just use my photos and upload ones that you have on your device saved from Google. But I'm just happy enough. That's fine. I'll just do that because it looks like it's being sorted. I mean, I know they're on the beach, but still. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to tap on this, select. Again, I'm only going to do probably 3 of these because the process is the same every time. Paste this in, hit done. Then I'm going to tap and hold to record I haven't read this, so we'll see. Plastics differ in size, color, thickness, and material. In this process, recycling machines sort plastics based on the properties of the material. Sorting is essential because it allows recyclers to recycle each type of plastic in the appropriate way. I see I made a mistake there, but I just kept going and I'm happy enough with it. So all I have to do here is tap on this and delete my other text. So I'm just going to delete. And then just find a place that I quite like for my text. So I'm going to make my size smaller. Hit done. It's annoying me. It's on 2 lines. I will click on into and just put that. Yeah, and then the bottom left I think works quite well there. So you can kind of see everything in the image. And then I'm just going to hit the plus to create a new slide. You can kind of see we're getting into a rhythm here. It's very repetitive. So I'm going to choose my 3rd slide. I'm going to go to step 3. I'm going to copy my text, paste it in. Okay, so we're looking for a very specific kind of image, but it's okay. You can get a bit creative with things. We could just do labels and see what kind of comes up because it's talking about impurities. We could also just do plastic recycling again because I think it had some sort of weird labels and things that were attached to it. Yeah, you can kind of play around. Again, the main theme of this is just take your time, get good images, get it the way that you like. I'll just do this because it's very specific, this slide. So I'm just going to do a whole bunch of plastic. I'm going to hit done, get my iPad ready for recording. And I'm going to hit and tap and hold and record. After sorting plastics, recyclers wash the materials to remove impurities. These impurities in plastic include paper labels, food, and dirt. Washing is essential because failure to remove impurities may damage any new product made using the material. This is very long recordings, but sure. So we have that, and we can keep going. Again, I'm just going to double click, and I'm going to delete this. Now, these are all different steps. So what I will do is I'm going to add in slides for the other steps, but I might not record my voice. I'm going to leave that one in the middle. I think that works best. So I'm just going to hit plus, and I'm going to do just step 4. I don't think I have time to record my voice just for looking at how long we have. Yeah, we've only about 5 minutes left, I think. Hold on. Yes. Well, about 10. So I'm just going to hit plus, text, add the text in, make it smaller. Done. And then I'm going to just add a photograph. So I'm going to do like plastic shredding. Let's see what brings up. Doesn't bring anything up for shredding. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, it's not plastic, but it gets the idea across of shredded stuff. Again, we don't have, these are very specific points, so it's fine to be sort of generic. And then, oh yes, I'm not recording my voice. I don't know why I copied that. And then I'm just going to finish off step 5, which is compounding. I can just spell that. So step 5 is compounding. Oops, I cannot spell that. 5, compounding. Make my text smaller so it matches. That's the only reason. And then let's find out. This step is where recyclers transform plastic particles into materials that can be used. Okay. So it's just really any sort of plastic item. So we could just do plastic objects. So this is where it can be turned into anything. Let's just do some fun little plastic, those little ones that you get in those like ball pits. And step 5, compounding. So again, we don't have time. You guys can go back and watch this video and record all your audio, but you get the idea of how to record your voice, which is the main thing, okay? There are 3 things I need to show you before we end here. Okay, the first one that I told you about is the theme. So this is where we can change the sort of theme. And also I didn't even show you layouts. So if I click on layout, you can actually change your slide to just be like a split screen if you want. So that's where you could probably put all of that text in. In fact, actually, what I will do is I will do that for the slides that I didn't record my voice. So that's slide 4 and slide 5. If I go to split screen and if I copy the text that I'm missing, that makes sense, especially if you don't want to record your voice. So I'm going to do split screen, and then in here, I can add the text in so it does make a bit more sense looking at it. Yeah, I'm much happier with that actually. And split screen again. And you'll notice in split screen, there's these little arrows at the top. If you click on those, it'll change the way that it's did the split screen. So the right side is always white. The left side in this theme is going to be colored, but that's fine. So I'm going to just highlight my text, click on my text, and paste that in and maybe make it a wee bit bigger. So yeah, that's just the option. So you can do titles with your voice being recorded, or you could do split screens, which is just where the text is in. Yeah. And then if I go to theme at the top, you can see this is where we can change the themes. And if I click on ones, you're going to see it's going to change the font and the colors and the overall sort of look of your project as well. It will affect the colors and things of it. Flare's quite cool, actually. You can click on each one. You can click on that little arrow, or not the arrow, the little pencil if you want to change your theme. It just really changes the colors if you can. So if I did this, I could choose that sort of aqua color, which I really like. That looks lovely. Then I just go back to theme and you can kind of play around with it. So that's how you change the look of your project. And the last thing to look at is music. Now, you probably can't hear, but at the minute there is a song that is playing in the background. This is usually determined by what theme you've picked. But I want to get like a thoughtful one. Like you'll see that they're split into, it's not really genres, it's more like emotions, like moods that you want. So there's like relaxed. So if I turn this up, so that music will be in the background. It's usually at 100. So you can play around and see what sort of music you like the sound of. So I'll do this one, Distant Telegram, for sure. And then if I actually was to play that, this volume is way too loud for my voice to be heard. So I just know instinctually that music should really be about 1/5 of the volume, or maybe even like 1/4 of the volume. So I'm pretty good with that. And I can scroll back to my first slide that has sound. Refuse collectors go around collecting. Actually, it could go a wee bit louder. Refuse collectors go around collecting waste plastic from homes, offices, and public places. Public places. It's the worst part about recording close to the microphone. So that's your music. And then the last step that we have to do, because we've got about a minute and a half left, our last step that we're going to do is we're going to share this out. So first thing I want to do is just watch it through and make sure it's okay. So it's playing. Oh, wait, I just played the slide. So if you click on this play, it's only going to play you the slide. This play will play the entire project, which is what I want to do. So let's just have a wee review. Refuse collectors go around collecting waste plastic from homes, offices, and public places. The plastic then gets transferred to recycling facilities to continue the process. Plastics differ in size, color, thickness, and material. In this process, recycling machines. So because I changed my theme, I need to go back and change my headers, but it's fine for now. Sorting is essential because it allows recyclers to recycle each type of plastic in the appropriate way. After sorting plastics, so I'm just going to scroll through, make sure it all worked okay. There we go. Whoops. So you can kind of see that's how it works. Works really well. So let's share, and then that's us. So again, there's only one share button, which is the arrow pointing out. So if I click on that, if I go to save to camera roll, it's going to save locally. And if I go to copy link to clipboard, that's going to save it in that. Remember the link that we want. So here's where it says, the title of my story is Recycling Week. I'm going to hit done and copy link to clipboard. If this is too fast, don't worry, you can go back and watch this again. But if I just go to copy link to clipboard, it's just going to take a wee while because I've recorded audio, there's music, there's photographs. It just takes a wee while to do this. So don't exit the screen while it's doing this. You have to be patient. It also depends on your internet too. So hopefully your internet's fast enough. And then it's stuck. It'll hopefully go. But anyway, while this is doing this, what I can say is thank you so much for joining me today. There, it's finished. I hope you enjoyed that, and it wasn't too much to take in. I'm just going to create a new tab, paste in that link, and you can see this is where it'll just take a wee while because it's brand new. It'll usually be ready in about 5 to 10 minutes, if even. That's just because you can refresh it. But yes, let me just switch back here. Hold on. Yes, hi. So hopefully that was very helpful. I really enjoyed that. It was fun. I mean, it's just me talking to myself for an hour and 15 minutes, but hopefully you find that helpful, got some nice tips and tricks, and had some good knowledge of Recycling Week, which is very helpful. What you can do is you can go to the link below to sign up for any of the other Adobe Digital Leader sections that we have going throughout the rest of October and November. There's quite a few. So if you've enjoyed today and you want to do some more, just follow the link below and you'll be able to sign your class up for more. So the last thing to say is, oh, the dog's moved. I was going to say bye from Hopper. There he is. He's fast asleep. But anyway, yes, it's bye from me. Thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, enjoy creating and yeah, just recycle more. Thank you so much. Bye.